In the misty dawn of the 17th century, as the Ming dynasty faltered under corruption and rebellion, a new power stirred in the frozen lands of the northeast. From the forests and plains of Manchuria came a people of fierce discipline and deep tradition, the Manchus. Under the leadership of a visionary chieftain named Nurhaci, they united their tribes, forged a new banner system, and began to dream of conquering the Middle Kingdom itself. When Beijing fell into chaos and the Ming collapsed, the Manchus seized their moment. In 1644, their armies swept through the Great Wall, not as raiders but as rulers, proclaiming the birth of a new dynasty, the Qing Dynasty, meaning pure. It would be the final imperial dynasty in Chinese history and one of its most transformative. At first, the Qing faced suspicion. They were outsiders ruling a vast Chinese population. Yet, through clever policy and cultural respect, they established legitimacy. The early emperors, especially Emperor Kangxi, ruled with both wisdom and strength. Kangxi was a scholar, a strategist, and a unifier. His reign, lasting more than 60 years, brought stability to a country torn by years of war. He expanded the empire's borders into Mongolia, Tibet, and Taiwan, and encouraged learning and art to flourish. Kangxi was not only a conqueror of land, but of minds. He supported Confucian scholars, commissioned great dictionaries, and invited Western Jesuit scientists to his court. These missionaries brought maps, clocks, and telescopes, sparking a cultural exchange that fascinated the world. Under Kangxi, China stood tall as a global power, advanced, sophisticated, and proud. After Kangxi came his grandson, Emperor Qianlong, whose reign marked the true golden age of the Qing Dynasty. Under his rule, China reached its largest territorial extent in history, stretching from the Pacific Ocean to Central Asia. The empire was vast and wealthy, its population swelling, its cities alive with trade, art, and culture. Qianlong loved poetry and beauty. He commissioned thousands of artworks, built grand palaces, and wrote over 40,000 poems himself. Yet, he was also a warrior. He led campaigns that secured China's borders, crushed rebellions, and subdued rival kingdoms. For a time, it seemed the Qing were invincible, but beneath this grandeur, small cracks began to form, signs of a coming storm. While Qianlong expanded the empire's might, his court became increasingly isolated from the realities of the common people. Bureaucracy grew heavy, corruption seeped in, and foreign powers began to watch China's wealth with hungry eyes. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the world was changing. In Europe, the Industrial Revolution had begun. Western nations, especially Britain, sought new markets and new resources. China, rich in silk, tea, and porcelain, became a prize they desperately desired. But there was a problem. The Qing government strictly limited foreign trade. To balance this, British merchants began smuggling opium into China. Addiction spread like wildfire, devastating families and communities. When the Qing tried to stop the trade, Britain responded not with diplomacy, but with gunfire. Thus began the First Opium War in 1839. The Qing armies, proud but outdated, faced modern Western cannons and steamships. The result was disastrous. China was forced to sign humiliating treaties, ceding Hong Kong and opening ports to foreign powers. It was a bitter awakening. The dragon had been wounded. As the 19th century unfolded, China was shaken by internal rebellion. The Taiping Rebellion, led by a man claiming to be the brother of Jesus Christ, nearly toppled the dynasty. Millions died in one of the bloodiest civil wars in history. Although the Qing crushed the rebellion, their strength was forever weakened. Meanwhile, reformers called for modernization. They wanted railways, factories, and a stronger army to resist the West. But within the imperial court, powerful conservatives, including the Empress Dowager Cixi, resisted drastic change. She ruled from behind the curtain, skillful but cautious, more interested in preserving power than in embracing progress. The empire stumbled forward, caught between ancient tradition and a rapidly modernizing world. In the early 20th century, after centuries of rule, The Qing faced their final challenge. Foreign influence was everywhere, and nationalist movements grew stronger. Secret societies plotted revolution. When the Boxer Rebellion erupted in 1900, a violent uprising against foreigners, the Qing found themselves both oppressors and victims, crushed by a coalition of Western armies. The dynasty limped on for a few more years under the last emperor, Puyi, a child placed on a crumbling throne. He was barely a boy when revolution swept across China in 1911, led by Sun Yat-sen and the forces of change. The Qing Dynasty, after nearly 3 centuries, finally fell. On a quiet day in February 1912, the last emperor abdicated. The Republic of China was born. The Forbidden City's gates closed on a chapter that had lasted for over 2,000 years, the Age of Emperors. Though it ended in turmoil, the legacy of the Qing endures.